What if the greatest threat to our society isn't evil, but something more insidious? A force that doesn't wear a villain's mask, but hides behind conformity and ignorance. Enter the unsettling insights of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a man who dared to confront not just tyranny, but the very mindset that enables it. Born in 1906, Bonhoeffer was a German theologian and pastor who became a vocal critic of the Nazi regime. His resistance wasn't just political, it was deeply intellectual and moral. Imprisoned for his opposition, he penned profound reflections on society's descent into moral chaos. Bonhoeffer observed that stupidity isn't a lack of intelligence, but a moral failing, a surrender of critical thinking. He noted that against stupidity, we are defenseless. Reason and facts fall on deaf ears. This kind of stupidity thrives in groups, where individuals abandon personal responsibility. Fast forward to today and we see similar patterns. Social media algorithms amplify echo chambers, reinforcing beliefs without scrutiny. In this environment, critical thinking is not just rare, it's actively discouraged. Bonhoeffer believed that the antidote to stupidity is not confrontation but liberation, encouraging individuals to reclaim their capacity for critical thought. This requires courage to question, to doubt, and to stand against the tide of unthinking conformity. In a world where misinformation spreads like wildfire, your commitment to think critically is a revolutionary act. Challenge your beliefs, seek out diverse perspectives, and encourage others to do the same. Together, we can foster a society that values wisdom over ignorance. It's easy to think stupidity is a problem of the uneducated, the uninformed, or the intellectually lazy. But Bonhoeffer challenged that illusion. In fact, he found that some of the most dangerous participants in societal collapse were not ignorant. They were intelligent, respected, even compassionate. Professors defended the regime, clergy blessed injustice, doctors signed off on horrors. This isn't a historical fluke. Look around today. When leaders echo popular lies to protect their reputation, when influencers push outrage to grow their reach, when people avoid asking tough questions because silence is safer, that's when stupidity takes root. And the worst part, it feels righteous. Here's the trap Bonhoeffer understood, and it still catches us today. Stupidity doesn't feel like a failing. It feels like certainty, like belonging, like moral clarity. Today's technology doesn't just allow stupidity to spread, it optimizes for it. Algorithms aren't built to surface truth, they're designed to keep you engaged. Outrage? Engagement. Tribalism? Engagement. Black and white thinking? Engagement jackpot. The Milgram experiments in the 1960s showed how far people would go just because someone in a lab coat told them to. Participants thought they were delivering real shocks to a stranger. Many went all the way to lethal levels. Not because they were evil, but because they were obedient. And today, the lab coat has become a Twitter bio, or a news anchor, or a verified checkmark. In a world screaming for your agreement, the bravest act is thinking for yourself, not blindly rejecting the mainstream. That's just reaction, not reflection, but actually pausing, asking, testing, rethinking. Let's get practical. Choose one belief you hold strongly, anything. Now spend 30 minutes researching the best arguments against it, not to destroy your belief, but to strengthen it, or reframe it, or, if needed, let it go. Bonhoeffer wasn't pointing fingers. He was holding up a mirror. The question he posed was simple, but brutal. Who keeps thinking when truth becomes dangerous? When comfort demands silence? When standing up costs everything? Maybe it's you. Maybe it has to be. If this video made you pause, share it. Not for clicks, not for likes. But to help build something better, we need a community that values thought in a world addicted to noise. So here's your challenge. Pick one belief. Research its counter-arguments for 30 minutes. Share what you learn in the comments below. Tag someone else to do the same. In a world obsessed with intelligence, we often forget the one habit more valuable than a high IQ, the discipline of thinking. Not just thinking hard, but thinking well. Bonhoeffer's insight wasn't that smart people are immune to stupidity. In fact, they're often the most vulnerable, because they can defend lazy beliefs with smart words. The real antidote isn't intelligence, it's discipline. The mental fitness to challenge yourself over and over, even when it's inconvenient. Like exercise, disciplined thinking is hard, repetitive, and often uncomfortable, but it's the only way to build intellectual resilience. So how do you do it? How do you train your mind to resist collective stupidity? Here are 4 simple but radical tools. 1. Ask better questions. Don't just ask, is this true? Bayo, who benefits if I believe this? What evidence would change my mind? 2. Read widely. Not just what confirms your worldview, but what challenges it. Follow thinkers you disagree with, not to fight them, but to learn their strongest arguments. 3. Create mental speed bumps. Before reacting, sharing, or posting, pause. Count to 10. Ask, do I understand this or just feel something about it? 4. Normalize uncertainty. It's okay to say, I don't know. Intellectual humility isn't weakness. It's the beginning of wisdom. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Our culture doesn't value thought. It values speed, visibility, and certainty. Thoughtfulness is slow. It doesn't trend. It can't be monetized quickly. And so we're pushed every day toward mental shortcuts, slogans, labels, reactions. Bonhoeffer saw this danger early. A society that prizes obedience over reflection eventually loses both truth and freedom. Here's why this is so difficult. You're not failing because you're weak. You're failing because the system is built to break your brain. The attention economy profits every time you react without reflection. That means you're not dumb. You're overstimulated. You're under-rested. You're rewarded for mental shortcuts. And if we don't change this system, we'll continue to produce more intelligent fools and fewer thoughtful humans. If you're a parent, teacher, mentor, or creator, you are on the front lines of this fight. The next generation will either inherit a culture of blind obedience or a culture that defends doubt, reason, and curiosity. Start with conversations, model uncertainty, praise kids not for having the right answer, but for asking meaningful questions. Teach them not just what to think, but how to navigate a world that will beg them not to think at all. When Bonhoeffer resisted the Nazis, his first weapon wasn't violence. It was clarity. He wrote, he questioned, he trained others to think, and in the end he died for it. But his legacy wasn't in his martyrdom. It was in his mind, a mind that refused to give in, even when everyone around him did. We've said it before, but now it's your turn. Pick one thing you know, challenge it, read the best arguments against it. Sit in that discomfort, and then ask a friend to do the same. Share this video with them, not as proof, but as a provocation. Bonhoeffer asked, who stands fast when all else gives way? We answered, the one who still thinks. In Bonhoeffer's final writings from his prison cell, he reflected deeply not just on resistance, but on humanity itself. He wasn't asking how to be a hero. He was asking, what does it mean to stay human when everything around you is trying to make you less? His answer, a human is someone who thinks, who questions, who refuses to become a tool for someone else's agenda. In his words, a man who no longer dares to judge for himself ceases to be a person. Bonhoeffer didn't believe resistance had to be loud, or dramatic, or televised. Some of the strongest resistance happens quietly. In a teacher encouraging questions over obedience. In a voter refusing to believe a lie. In a student choosing to learn even when it's unpopular. These are the people who keep society alive when everyone else seems to fall asleep. If we want to break the cycle, we must shift from reaction to reflection. The next time you feel the urge to repost, to rage, to argue, stop. Yourself, am I thinking or am I just echoing? The pause, that small moment, is where your power lives. No, you're not going to change the system alone, but here's the truth. You don't have to. What if you change your dinner conversations? What if you help your friend rethink something small? What if your child saw you say, I was wrong? Change doesn't start at the top, it starts in the mind. One spark, one shift, one stubborn act of curiosity. So now we end where Bonhoeffer ended, with a question that he wrote shortly before his execution. Who stands fast in a world where truth is costly? His answer was simple. The one whose conscience has been awakened. Not the loudest, not the cleverest, but the one who keeps thinking when everyone else has stopped. Today you've heard a theory that many never hear. You've looked at yourself, not just your world, and maybe you saw the signs, the reflex to conform, the comfort of slogans, the fear of being wrong, but you stayed to the end. So now your challenge is this. Pick one belief you've never questioned. Research the best counter-arguments. Don't panic, don't defend, just sit with it. Share your experience in the comments. Invite someone else to do the same. That's how it begins. Not with a war, but with a whisper that refuses to go out. Because every time one person chooses truth over comfort, curiosity over certainty, thought over reaction, that's one step closer to a wiser world. If this video moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Not for numbers, but for a future that values thought over noise. Share this with someone who matters, someone who thinks, and join our Telegram group where we continue these conversations every week. You don't need to be a genius, you just need to stay awake.